Well, FreshBaked, today Disney held their Q1 conference call, a discussion about, I don't know, business matters. There was lots of business. Talk about EPS and DPEP and DMed and how about Grey's Anatomy, huh? There was a lot of that, but there was also stuff that is of interest to regular folks like you and me who just want to talk about Disney Park. And that's what this video is going to be about, is the stuff that was discussed in that conference call that is related to Disney Parks and a little bit of Disney Plus stuff as well. But we're going to start with Avengers Campus because it was mentioned. Now, it was brief. He didn't really get into it. All he said was, Chapek that is, was that Avengers Campus is going to be opening sometime in 2021. To the point where I'm wondering why he even brought it up. I think it's just a measure to, something to talk about. Normally in these Q1 or in these conference calls that they do for earnings reports, same thing or similar to what they do at a D23, let's say. They want to have something that they can hype. There's something that they need people to get excited about. And there's not a lot of things to get excited about when it comes to Disney parks, especially here in Disneyland, but even in Walt Disney World as well, where things are kind of stagnant. But so he mentions Avengers Campus, but only to say that it's going to open up in sometime in 2021, which is basically no information whatsoever. That's not useful at all. We already knew that. They've already said that, so that's not new. He also mentioned Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway will be opening or ready by 2023. Also, not news at all. We kind of already knew that. They talked about delaying that one. It was supposed to be 2022, but they talked about delaying that now because there's delays in construction progress all over Disney parks. As for the parks reopening in general, obviously they're not going to give us a date for that. They don't know a date for that, to be honest. I don't think anybody does. But they did mention something that kind of gives us an idea on ballpark, maybe? I don't know. He said the parks will be closed at least until the end of Q2, which is April 2nd to you and me. So that kind of puts a little cold water. Okay, so in the video that I shot today that we haven't produced yet or we haven't published yet, I was at Downtown Disney today and I talked about the rumor of Main Street possibly reopening in the middle of March along with the Food and Wine type festival that they're doing at DCA. That puts a little cold water on that topic, though it could be argued that we're talking about two different things, the park reopening and just Main Street reopening, so there is still hope for that. But he said that the park should be closed at least until the end of Q2, like I said, which is April 2nd. I'm still hanging around on summer. I feel like summer's a good time frame. I think they're going to get all their ducks in a row. Now, as far as that goes, one of the things that Chapek hit on a couple times during this conference call was vaccinations. I think they're pinning a lot of their hopes on how well vaccinations go. Things are finally starting to get wrapped up here in California. He did mention, as a matter of fact, he opened his comments by saying that Disneyland itself, the Toy Story parking lot vaccination site here in Anaheim, that site has administered 100,000 vaccinations. So that is something that they're pinning a lot of their hopes on in terms of how quickly we can get things going again at Disneyland. So he feels like, listen, and he cited Fauci today. Fauci said that the general public will have access to vaccinations as soon as April, possibly April, which is pretty soon. And however well that goes, depending on how many people actually get it done, will affect how soon the parks can reopen, how soon we can get back to some sort of quasi-normalcy. He did mention that wearing masks and social distancing will still be a part, even as vaccinations become a thing or more common this year going forward. They'll still be a thing this year, but he does expect it to be significantly reduced or minimized by 2022. Again, this is based on the assumption that everybody gets the vaccination, or at least a preponderance of folks get a vaccination. Okay, another topic that came up was park expansions, park updates, new projects, things like they're doing at Epcot. Again, like we mentioned before, Avengers Campus, Runaway Railway, that kind of stuff. No secret that stuff has been cut back quite a bit. But they did mention specifically to what degree that has been cut back. Capital investments in parks has been cut by 43%, almost half. So what is that 43%? What are those cuts? Well, that's new business. The only thing that they're still putting money into right now are the projects that have been ongoing. Avengers Campus, Runaway Railway, Epcot, Tron, the Galactic Star Cruiser, that kind of stuff. Nothing new. No new money is being spent on the parks right now, which, like I mentioned, is kind of to be expected. I will add at this point, though, that the money that they might have spent on new construction is all going to direct-to-consumer stuff. It's all going to Disney Plus, creating new content or buying content for Disney Plus. That is Disney's main focus. They're putting a whole mess of eggs in that basket, in the direct-to-consumer basket. Interestingly, though, as I mentioned, the Cosmic Rewind, that was cited specifically in the conference call, as was the Ratatouille ride and Avengers Campus and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. One thing that he didn't mention, Chapek that is, he didn't mention Tron, which is glaring in its omission because that's a major project that they've been working on for a while now. It's a huge part of what's going on at Magic Kingdom. He didn't mention it at all, not even to give it a, hey, this thing's coming kind of thing, which tells us, which confirms, for those of you who are interested in what's happening at Walt Disney World, that project is lagging big time, that it has been stalled basically. And I don't think we should be expecting Tron at Magic Kingdom anytime soon. It's going to be a minute, I think, based on the fact that he, like I said, he obviously did not mention it. I'm jumping around. This is what happens when I try to ham and egg this stuff. I mentioned a minute ago about Disney Plus and how they're putting a lot of eggs in that basket. They're talking about doing something new on Disney Plus every week. We should be expecting something new every week, be that a new episode of something like WandaVision or Falcon and Winter Soldier. I almost said Falcon and Snowman. Or a new movie or something like that. New content coming every week on Disney Plus. That's pretty great. He also mentioned that they were pretty thrilled, actually, with how Soul went. If you've been following the I don't know, the drama around how they're releasing content on Soul right now, on Disney Plus, speaking of Soul, Mulan was put out on this Disney Premier Access thing, which basically says even though you have Disney Plus, you still got to pay $30 to watch Mulan, because it never made it to theaters, right? And there were some, people that didn't like that idea. I defended it a little bit, and I still would today, because they got to make money. These movies cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make. They've already put that money in there. They got to recoup some of that somehow. Anyway, I digress. Soul also cost $100 million or $200 million to make, but they put that one out for free as part of the basic subscription service on Disney Plus. But he said that they were pretty thrilled with how that went, at least with regard to it generating new subscriptions to Disney Plus. So that's good. You might expect that's a good sign for those who want more free Disney content or content on Disney Plus. But he also mentioned that Mulan went well enough. They were happy enough with how Mulan went that they're going to do the same thing with Raya and the Last Dragon, which is the next film to be released. That's going to be released in theaters and on Disney Plus, the Premier Access at the same time, which is interesting. I would like to see the numbers on that. I really would. I would like to see the numbers on that, how it compares. I wonder, how do they monetize? How do they come up with figuring out how much a release is worth, like Soul, when they just give it away as part of the basic service? How are they able to put a number on that? And say, because it's easy to tell how box office does. You sell tickets, right? You go to the theater, you pay for your ticket, and they say, okay, we made $8 on that movie. How do they do that when they're giving it away for free? How do they figure out if it's valuable? Same thing with Netflix. I don't know, something to think about. I don't know the math on it. And then lastly, the subject of annual passes came up. And with it, Chapek appeared to concede, I think is the right word, that the pandemic has created an opportunity for them to basically reset the AP program, in a lot of ways reset how they think about operating the parks in general. We kind of assumed that to be the case when we talked about it, because the program wasn't working the way they wanted it to, I don't think. And this allowed them to just basically clean the slate completely and draft a model of the annual pass program that is more, I don't know, modern in its approach to guest services. It doesn't rely on sort of a dogmatic approach to how the AP program was being managed in the past. They were basically leaning on a system, leaning on a model that they've been using for 20 years, 30 years. I don't even know how long it's been since APs have been available. But I think that they were just kind of letting that keep recycling that same idea. I guess the FlexPass thing was kind of one little tweak that they did to it. But this has been an excuse, an opportunity for them to really rethink the program in a way that suits both us and Disney. Probably more so Disney, though, to think about it. And again, as a business person, as somebody who has, who has a financial background, who has an eye towards finances, who has an eye towards the bottom line, more information, more control is good for business. And they want to know more. They want to control more. They want to be able to direct their guests in a way that they want them to be directed. That couldn't be done with the old AP program. I say all of this to say that Chapek pretty much conceded that is the case. That he doesn't say it, outright, but he said it allowed them to sort of erase those old concepts, those old ideas, and start something fresh and something new. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. That's all they talked about with regard to Disney parks. I would say that the overall tone of the conference call was positive. Specifically with Chapek, I get the feeling like he's ready to go. He feels like the parks are ready to go. We just need to get the vaccinations, up to speed. That's the main takeaway that I got from this, is that they're just waiting for that to kind of take care of itself. I should say that they're hoping that takes care of everything. I'm less optimistic about a spring opening than I am about a summer opening based on what I've heard. And that's mostly because with regard to the vaccinations and them not being available publicly until April, it'll take some time for that cycle to kind of catch up, but we can still hope. Otherwise, let us know, you guys, what you think about this information that came out today from the Q1 earnings call. Let us know in the comments below, and thank you for watching. Do be sure to subscribe to our channel. If you haven't already, hit the notification bell. You can follow us on Instagram at _FreshBaked and on Twitter at FreshBakedIzzy. That's fresh with no E. And if you're interested and you want to catch more of myself and Liz, we are back doing videos on Royal Dorks again. Follow us there. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you guys very much. Stay safe. Be kind to one another. And Fresh Baked.